Alright, ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, we are going to be talking about some improvements you guys think should happen for the next Need for Speed game whenever that decides to drop. I have personally already read what is being suggested before making this script, but for all of you guys, I will be putting each part up on the screen for you to read. All that to say that I will not be reading the wording verbatim. Once again, I will not be reading the wording put on the screen verbatim. We all have the ability to read, I hope. After I summarize and give initial thought though, I will then give my own feedback on it and if it will be good or not. Of course, this is all my opinion and nothing more. I do not know what can be in the next game, and I don't know if something I disagree with would actually work very well in the next game. Feel free to leave how you feel in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to subscribe and drop a like, and let's get into it. The first point is that there should be a clean mode, which basically means that they want the ability for bumping and collision to not do as much damage as it would normally, or impact how a car drives as much as it would normally. They follow this up with having a clean mode would help make certain events more serious without having to worry about drivers sabotaging racers or the race itself. And you know what? I agree with that. Some events I feel should have a clean mode, or better yet, the ability for cars to ghost through each other, and it's certainly possible, as we see in the new drift events introduced in the Kaizen volumes. However, it would solely depend on what the vibe of the game is. Unbound actively encourages you to hit other racers in race events, and in other less serious events. As we all know, you can unlock a multitude of cars from crashing out other players, and in the newest game mode Lockdown, they want you to engage in PvP with other players to knock them out and steal their cash. Sure, a good clean race mode would be great, yes, but I doubt they would want to implement something like that unless the game is focused on legal circuit type of racing again. Because remember, right? Need for Speed is about breaking the law and doing whatever it takes to win. That includes bumping into other players, unfortunately. People have learned and adapted to when rammers decide to enter a race alongside them, and those on the comp side also have strict rules in place to prevent racers from touching each other. But things like that are still going to happen. The second point, which deals with class-specific lobbies, I don't think that would really work because we have a version of that anyway with the way tracks are set up in Unbound now. Why have a lobby where everyone is a specific class and can't change without backing out when you can just have everyone together and whoever wants to race S Plus can just put up an S Plus race and those who want to race that will join it. Plus, I agree with what the guy said with the player base being too small. I mean, even now you can find lobbies where it isn't even 16 people and it goes downhill from there. That's just free roam. If you try to get a full drift lobby or even hot pursuit, you will be there for a while. That is by far one of the most popular complaints about Need for Speed Unbound, and adding to that problem probably wouldn't go so well. Also, now that I think about it, we do have the class lobbies in the numerous PvP modes we are given. You have the PvP for strictly a certain tier of racing, you have the lobbies for Drift Pro, you have the lobbies that only feature JDM, Muscle, etc. You have PvP lobbies that only use stock underground cars. I mean, it may not be free roam, but it's there. So maybe it would be possible for them to do something like that, but I doubt it, especially since they already somewhat perfected dividing people into what they want with the daily rotations in PvP. To bring it all back, I think that if they were to do something like that, it would be how it is now with PvP and how they have separate areas for people who want to do a certain thing for the time being. But once again, it all depends on the vibe of the next game. If the next game is heavily focused on the car scene and car meet events, then there very well could be whole lobbies of just JDM or supercar or really anything. Then we have day and night cycles. That's fine with me, and it has been requested ever since it was removed in Heat and then brought back in a weird way for Unbound Story. I honestly don't know if I would prefer a dynamic cycle where the events change as the sun goes down naturally, or it could be like in Heat again where you leave the garage and you can decide what you want to do. I feel like a lot of players would want the second option, that way they can have the freedom to do what they please, whenever they please, but the first option could be a nice change for the franchise. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about something like that. Now for character customization and it being better. That is something I do not agree with. One of the main issues of Unbound was how much focus they put into the characters and having brand deals with the clothing rather than putting that time and money into new cars, new tracks, new events, all that sort of good stuff, right? Even when the speed passes dropped, half of the rewards were just things for your character. And it made matters even worse when they dropped the paid version of the speed pass, and some of those rewards were new character models that should have been available since release anyway. Characters matter in the game, yes, but not as much as the actual gameplay does. There should be no reason why when a game drops, it is more fun to customize your character than actually race in a racing game. We can have character customization, but it needs to be limited and not so much like The Sims. This is a racing game, not an RPG. Plus, you gotta realize that we see our characters maybe 5 minutes out the whole time we are on the game. If there was a world where we could get out the car and walk around like in Test Drive Unlimited, I could see the point. But you see your character on the home screen, at the start and finish of a race, and then maybe you see them if you get podium. Besides that, you don't see the clothing that you even spent your money on. Having a nice rep system and fully functional betting system would be nice. It would really bring the risk and reward factor fully back to Need for Speed that has been missing for quite a while now, in my opinion. The last time I actually felt something I cared about was on the line was back in Heat with the cops at night. I agree that there should be a cap for how much money you can bet, but I don't think it should be based on level. There are a lot of players who are not max level simply because they just don't play like that. I have over 1,800 hours on the game and I have never hit the max level. Even now, I'm still not max level. That doesn't mean people shouldn't be able to bet a certain amount of money. If you are bold enough to want to bet in the first place, then do it full force. Put your whole foot in it. In another video I talk about how we should be able to see other players' win and loss percentages along with how much time they have played with the car they are currently in, their favorite car to use, and a big one, how often they back out or incomplete race percentage as well. This would encourage players to try harder and play for longer because nobody wants to be the person who is driving around with a terrible percentage for any of their stats. A sense of real competition is what has been missing from Unbound since the beginning, and I agree, bringing something like this would really help out in the long run to keep players engaged and constantly grinding for something. Now with chatting and sending messages, that may be added, but I'm leaning more towards it won't be, just because a lot of people are in parties and they know that. Yes, that means you cannot talk to others just in the game world, but that's why they added the emote wheel to briefly talk about what you want from another person. This is just one of those things that if we think about it, I don't think the dev team would put it in the game unless it was absolutely necessary or they had extra time on the back end to make it work correctly. Plus, they would have to add filters for the words because people can't behave to save their life. They would need to make sure it works correctly across all platforms, all that sort of stuff. And then the last one, he talks about a non-exploitable handling model and complains about the meta. Now, guys, I have a lot of videos on microdrifting and I have a lot of videos about meta, so there really is no reason to go super deep into it. My stance has not changed. Basically, the evidence is clear as day and the dude even admits it. He drives off meta stuff but still gets annoyed when he loses. If you want to drive off meta custom builds that you threw together and have no sort of testing behind them to see if they are actually good or not, then by all means, do it. It's your game that you paid for, so you can do what you want. But at the same time, don't get mad at someone who does use the correct builds and wants to win, so they put themselves in the best position to do so. A game is not going to conform to you just because you don't want to use the best car in the game, simply for the fact you don't want to use the best car in the game. You can either learn microdrifting or not. But same as with the meta, don't get mad when someone who did take the time to learn it does you. Microdrifting was in Heat, it was in Hot Pursuit Remastered, it was in all these other games, and I guarantee a lot of y'all didn't even know it. I think that a lot of you guys believe that if microdrifting went away, you'd have a better chance of winning, and that is simply not the case. If it's not one thing, it's going to be another, and someone who puts the time in to master whatever it is will always be faster than someone who does not. I hope some of this stuff made sense to you guys, and let me know down in the comments if I was on the money with my opinions or if I strayed a little bit too far. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to go ahead and drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.